Gentlemen, it's time for the Tuesday Trash. Roll the clip.
It's the Clarkman Fantasy Football League. Let's go! It's the Clarkman Fantasy Football League. Let's go!
Welcome back to the Tuesday Trash on Bench Points Fantasy Sports. I am your host, Ben Clark, here to deliver the weekly reminder that fantasy football is 10% luck and 90% pain. And, no, that's 100%. That's all it is, luck and pain. Football is finally back this week. We've got some games to cover, games to recap, stats to give out, and roast to give. That means the excuses are finally rolling in. The waiver wire is on fire, and half the league thinks they're already championship bound. Those spoilers, they're not. That'll belong to two people, myself and one other person. Tonight we will kick things off with a look at last week's biggest losers, because nothing brings a league together quite like pointing out who stunk it up the most. We'll kick things off with my dearest Uncle Adam and his Fort Wayne Mad Ants. Adam, you got off to a really hot start, scoring 95 points in week 1, but it just wasn't enough this time. Unfortunately, wide receiver Xavier Worthy got knocked out on the field by teammate Travis Kelce, who was doing his best Floyd Mayweather impression. It's unlucky, but you can't say I didn't warn you. Check last week's episode if you don't believe me. Next, we'll move on to Andy and his shuffleheads. Andy, my man, it is a tragic day, truly tragic day. Anytime you scored the second most fantasy points in a given week and still managed to lose. I mean, seriously, you should be 1-0 right now. If you played anyone else, you would have got the win. But you happened to run into the Josiah Lennon buzzsaw in week 1. It's okay, man. It happens to everyone. Actually, no, it only happens to you. Moving on to Josh now. Josh, you had the talent to win this one. Unfortunately, all of that talent was sitting on your bench. What you put in your lineup looked less like a fantasy team and more like a preseason depth chart. Next time, try starting guys who actually score points and maybe you'll have a chance, okay? Next up, we've got Scott. Scott, how does it feel to lose to the one team in the league who auto-drafted? I mean, you actually took the time to carefully assemble this roster for this week, for this year, and you lost by 25. Caleb's kicker scored more than all but 2 of your players this week. Embarrassing, man. At this point, Scott, you might want to let auto-draft take the wheel for you next year, because clearly it has a better eye for talent than you do. Moving on, we have the captain himself. Captain Clark was absolutely ready for this week 1 matchup versus Billy. Very excited to get the games rolling. Very excited to be back in the swing of things. Unfortunately for him, his team was a little less ready. Baker Mayfield put up a really solid stat line this week, but he was the only player who decided to get off the bus this week, being his only player to score double-digit points. You might come at me in the comments or the message board and go, oh, but his kicker, Brandon Aubrey. I'm not counting Brandon Aubrey in this because kickers aren't real football players. Last and most certainly least, we have Eric, a.k.a. Kamara Harris 24. Eric, I can't tell which losses were yours or Andy's. Andy put up a phenomenal fight this week. I will reiterate that. Second most hit points in the league. He put up a great performance and fell short of the mark this time. Your team, on the other hand, well, it just didn't show up, man. I mean, I've seen bye weeks with more fight than what you guys put on the field this week. And quite honestly, your team name, like your name suggests, very much resembles the actual Kamala Harris, in the sense that you lost miserably despite being overwhelmingly projected to win. Better luck next week, buddy. Now, despite all of those performances, poor or mediocre or, somewhat not bad for those of us who won, I do have to award a Chump of the Week. So without further ado, your Chump of the Week for week 1 is The University of Florida Gators, that's right, it's not any of you, it is the sorry team that plays football in Gainesville, Florida. The Gators were beaten on Saturday, 18-16, by the University of South Florida Bulls. Now I can guarantee you, without a shadow of a doubt, not a single one of you in this league is capable of naming any players on their active roster. So yeah, congratulations to you, University of Florida, and Heisman hopeful, no longer hopeful, DJ Lagway for losing to a team they really shouldn't have lost to. It was a successful hate watch on Saturday, and it's lonely at the top. What can I say? The AP poll will be a little better off without you in it. Your time being ranked this season was short. You will not be missed. Go Vols. Before we move on, I feel like I owe a very heartfelt apology. Not to any of you losers. Don't get excited. But to the Colts. More specifically, Daniel Jones. Yes, Danny, I doubted you. 7 years on the Giants, mostly a nightmare. I never thought very highly of you. I even roasted the Colts last week like they were a sad little peewee team. Like my high school could beat. But apparently I've been like super blind. Because somehow you're the only quarterback in this century to lead a scoring drive on every possession of a game. That's something none of the greats ever did. Brady never did it. Breeze never did it. Manning never did it. Rodgers never did it. Mahomes never did it. Even Bears MVP Mitch Trubisky never did that. I mean, shockingly, just some of the greatest names of all time, they never did what you did this week. And I truly do apologize. It really incredible, truly shocking. I mean, who could have seen that coming? Certainly not me. The Giants fan who watched you play for my beloved team for 7 years, and we didn't see anything close to that, not even once from you. So yeah, Danny, my bad. I apologize for underestimating your uncanny ability, sudden uncanny ability to do things that I didn't think you were possibly capable of doing ever. All hail Indiana Jones. Next, we'll move on to our Pick'em segment of the show. I'll spare you the in-depth analysis for now because this week we are picking purely based on vibes. Today, after all, is 9/9, aka Darius Bannock Day. And who could ever possibly have more vibes than Mr. Cool Runnings himself? No one, man. First up, I've got Papa John and his prodigals knocking off the Indy Shepherds. Jeremy's team surely can't repeat that same performance as last week, and the herd will scatter when the big bad wolf comes rolling in. Papa John by 10. Second, I've got Andy beating Adam. Nothing personal, Adam. Love your team, love your roster. Just don't love Xavier Worthy. And I don't think Andy can go 2-0 after his performance last week. I don't think it's going to happen. Next, I've got Josh beating Josiah. I don't know how often Josiah was beaten by his father growing up, but I'm sure that it'll happen this week in fantasy. Fourth up, we have cousins Billy and Caleb. This one is tough, but I've got to hand it to Caleb because he's not nearly as big a chump as Billy is yet. We'll see. Auto draft again, and that may change. Next up, we've got Scott and Eric. I'm simply not sure that Eric's team can win a game this season. I mean, we're probably looking at Cleveland Browns level of awfulness here on this roster. I mean, a record-breaking 53 points in week one, lowest point total of the week. I don't need to explain myself any further than that. Scott by 50. And lastly, we have myself versus the captain. And again, I don't need to pull the scoreboard out on this one. I don't need to dazzle you with any fancy statistics, but the old man hasn't beaten me in much of anything in the last decade or so. That's pickup hoops, that's, football and Madden, that's Axis and Allies, that's chess, that's anything under the sun. The man can't beat me. I've had his number every time. I'm going to take me to win. Completely unbiased opinion, of course. And that concludes our show for tonight. I don't have any other segments planned yet, but I'm sure that that'll change in the near future. As always, gentlemen, stay humble and stay trashy. I'll see you again in a week. Peace. Oh, I'm still rolling, aren't I?
Get in the darkness!